Goedenavond en van harte welkom bij deze speciale livestream van Christenen voor Israël met een bijzondere gast uit Israël. Een Arabisch-Israëlische christen en een felle verdediger van Israël. Zijn naam is Yoseph Haddad, hij is geboren in Haifa, hij is opgegroeid in Nazareth. En toen hij 18 jaar oud werd, toen meldde hij zich aan als vrijwilliger voor het Israëlische leger, de Israel Defense Forces. Vandaag de dag zit hij niet meer in het leger, maar alsnog vecht hij voor Israël op allerlei andere manieren. Onder andere door bij Israëlisch-Arabieren erop aan te dringen om te integreren in de Israëlische maatschappij. Om de BDS, de boycott van Israël, te bestrijden en ook antisemitisme te bestrijden. Yoseph, welcome.
Thank you very much.
So I gave a brief overview of everything you do to fight for Israel, to fight against anti-Semitism, to fight against the boycott of Israel. You travel around the world to do that. Why?
First of all, I should say, I fight for anti-Semitism, I fight against racism, and I fight for Israel. And the reason is because it's very simple. It's my country. I'm an Arab Israeli. And I was born in Israel. I was born as an Arab Israeli. I'm proud to be an Arab. I'm proud to be an Israeli. And I think my fight is focusing on two different aspects. The first one inside Israel, to bridge gaps between Jews and Arabs, and to bring the Arab-Israeli society to become an integral part of the Israeli society. And outside is actually to fight for the truth.
Yeah.
Because I see how the media and the social media are lying about my country and lying about my community, specifically the Arab-Israeli community, and I couldn't stay silent. I had to say something about that.
Is it a difficult fight?
It's a very difficult fight because the numbers is not in our favor. There's so many people lying and so many big media over there around the world that it's easy for them to lie. Just look what happens in medias like The Guardian or the CNN, the BBC, literally taking an event that happened in Israel and they twist it. For instance, you had a terrorist Palestinian who just took his car and literally drove into Israelis and killed babies. CNN called it a car accident. Why? Yeah. Why can't you say the truth?
So these are the things you fight against?
This is the things that I fight for.
We're gonna come back to that later. Ook bij ons aan tafel is aangeschoven Jonathan Veldmaar. Hij werkt voor Stand With Us Nederland, een organisatie die verantwoordelijk is voor het brengen van onderwijs. Hij leidt het educatieteam van Stand With Us. En deze livestream is ook een samenwerking tussen Christenen voor Israël en Stand With Us Nederland. Jonathan, van harte welkom.
Dankjewel.
Wat is Stand With Us voor een organisatie?
Wij zijn een non-profit en een niet partijgebonden organisatie die strijdt tegen misinformatie omtrent Israël, tegen antisemitisme. En wij geloven er heilig in dat ook via educatie dat wij de weg naar vrede kunnen vormen.
Ja, het lijkt een beetje op de doelstelling van Christenen voor Israël. Eigenlijk zijn we een beetje een broer-zus organisatie, toch?
Ja, ik denk wel degelijk dat we op heel veel vlakken raakvlak hebben.
Ja.
Zeker.
Jullie hebben Yoseph Haddad naar Nederland uitgenodigd om hier te komen spreken. Ja. En dankzij jullie mag hij ook hier vanavond in de studio zijn. Waarom hem?
Waarom hem? Ik denk dat zijn levensverhaal omvat voor ons op grote vlakken wat er mis is in de media. Bijvoorbeeld met Israël Apartheidsweek, wat je nu dus ziet op de Nederlandse universiteitscampussen, maar niet alleen in Nederland. Door heel Europa en de week speelt zich af over de hele wereld. Mensen beweren dat Israël apartheid bedrijft of Israël een apartheidsstaat is in Nederland. Meer dan 50% van de Nederlanders is ervan overtuigd
dat Israël een apartheidsstaat is.
Dat er in Israël en de Palestijnse gebieden sprake is van apartheid.
Wat hopen jullie in Nederland teweeg te brengen met het werk wat jullie doen?
Wij willen graag een positieve verandering teweeg brengen. En met name omtrent antisemitisme. Antisemitisme dat voortvloeit uit verkeerde kennis over Israël, verkeerde kennis over het Jodendom, over Joden. En wij willen dus via educatie mensen laten inzien dat de realiteit eigenlijk heel anders is dan wat men bijvoorbeeld in de media ziet. Wat men hoort over Israël. En ik denk dat Yoseph Haddad met zijn levensverhaal en zijn persoon eigenlijk belichaamt hoe het wel is.
Jullie geloven eigenlijk, ja. Want hoe doen jullie dat dan? Gaan jullie echt naar scholen toe en naar universiteiten?
We hebben momenteel bijvoorbeeld een fellowship-programma, het Emerson Fellowship. We hebben op verschillende universiteitscampussen, en dat is ook wat ons onderscheidt van andere organisaties, is dat wij dus fellows hebben op universiteiten. Zij organiseren evenementen.
Dat zijn een soort van vrienden van jullie organisatie?
Het zijn studenten die zich aanmelden voor een programma. En zodra ze worden toegelaten tot dit programma, krijgen zij via ons training. Bijvoorbeeld ze zijn naar Londen geweest, Los Angeles voor conferenties. Ze krijgen iedere 2 maanden een online training en begeleiding om vanuit henzelf, ook de onderwerpen die hen aanspreken, evenementen te organiseren op universiteitscampus. Bijvoorbeeld Yoseph gaat naar Den Haag, van de campus van de Universiteit Leiden. En daar gaat hij spreken voor heel veel tientallen studenten.
Krijgen jullie wel eens tegenstand dan als jullie dat soort dingen organiseren?
Ik denk dat het echt stuitend is, de hypocrisie die wij ook zien bij universiteiten en bij onder studenten en onder studentenorganisaties ook. Yoseph moet security hebben. Hij kan niet normaal spreken. We moeten altijd rekening ermee houden, we moeten registraties hebben, we moeten ervoor zorgen, we moeten namen checken. We moeten zeker weten dat iedereen die komt, daadwerkelijk daar is om een positieve bijdrage te leveren.
Maar dat is wel heftig.
Dat is heel heftig.
Ja.
En als ik met studentenorganisaties werk, dan, kijk, nu bijvoorbeeld is het Israël-Apartheidsweek. Zij hebben een panel, bijvoorbeeld in Groningen, waar ik studeer, hebben zij een panel georganiseerd waar alleen maar anti-Israël stemmen op het podium zitten. Maar als ik een evenement met dezezelfde studentenorganisaties wil organiseren over Israël, om het vanuit een andere kant te bekijken, dan is eigenlijk het eerste dat ik hoor, maar eigenlijk willen we dat er dan ook een tegenstem zit.
Terwijl dat aan de andere kant helemaal niet zo gebeurt.
Ja, en dat soort gewijden, er is een gigantisch gebrek aan welwillendheid om überhaupt dat soort evenementen te organiseren die een ander licht laten zien, een ander Israël.
En dat is wat jullie als Stand With Us doen?
Dat is waar wij ons voor inzetten, dat is ook waar we mee bezig zijn. We organiseren zowel in Nederland als in België nu, een van onze fellows zit bijvoorbeeld in Brussel, organiseren we evenementen om mensen te onderwijzen over Israël, over het Israël zoals wij dat zien en zoals hij dat beleeft.
Yeah, because going to you, Yoseph, you also visit a lot of universities to teach about Israel. Do you get a lot of opposition?
Well, I think the reason why I get a lot of opposition from anti-Israelis, and I actually also call them anti-Palestinians, not pro-Palestinians, because those people, they're afraid from the truth. I know that there is this cliche to say they're afraid for the truth because they cannot handle the truth, but that's actually what's going on. I mean, I've just gotten the news that I'm going to be at some universities, and in some universities they've already took down the flyers, and the reason why they took down the flyers is because they don't want this lecture to be exposed for the other students.
Why?
And why? Because they are afraid. They don't want people to know that an Arab Israeli is coming to the university to share his story and the reality about him as an Arab citizen of Israel. And the reason is because they are afraid of the truth.
But you say that people who call themselves pro-Palestinians are actually anti-Palestinians. Why?
Because they don't really want to end the conflict. Why would they? Think about it. They benefit from the conflict. The more the conflict exists, the more money they get, and the more they elevate their own agenda. I'll give you for example, everywhere I go, about a few months I was in London, and you asked me if I get a lot of, antis. I needed 5 bodyguards to escort me to do a lecture in a university. Why?
Which is crazy.
It's crazy. And while I was there, 250 people outside of the university are chanting, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. So I'm asking you, what does that mean? What does that mean, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free? It means they do not recognize Israel. And they want the destruction of Israel. And that's why they're not actually promoting or helping to end the conflict. They want to make it alive more and more. That's why they're anti-Palestinians, because the Palestinians themselves suffers more because of them.
Yeah, let's talk about you, because you were born in Haifa.
Correct.
You grew up in Nazareth. Have you always been pro-Israel?
So this is a really interesting question. The majority of the Arab Israelis are not anti-Israelis or pro-Israelis. We are Arab who lives in Israel. And obviously, extreme communities or minorities exist in our community. I fight them. I fight them with all my might.
Yeah.
So So the question is, or if you go and ask any Arab from Israel, would you, for instance, prefer to live in any other Arab country or stay in Israel? I would say, I will stay in Israel and I don't want to go anywhere.
But they're not really pro-Israel, the Arab community.
They're not about pro-Israel, but they are more quiet. Where they're more quiet and silent because of the extremists from our side. Do you know what I get every day? Every day from those extremists, despite the fact that they're minority, I get death threats. Hate messages, things that I don't even want to say because I don't want to share it live on TV. And I will answer you how I become an activist like this about my country. I'm passionate about my country. But
because you're not really silent right now.
Because I'm not silent. But you know something? I realized why it's important to speak out loud. One time my sister went to a place to buy hummus. And when she entered that place, there was about 7 people work there. And when they realized that I am her brother, they came to her and said, "Are you Yosef's sister?" And she said, proudly, yes. And goes like, "Listen to me carefully. Go to your brother and tell him we love him." She was like a bit shocked because she thought that they're gonna attack her. And then they added the sentence that made it everything and will make everything clear for everyone. "Sorry that we cannot support your brother publicly. But you know that we live among those extremists, even if they are minority. And if we say something, they're gonna curse us, they're gonna curse our family, they're gonna vandalize our restaurant, or they're gonna boycott us."
So they're afraid.
They are afraid. I cannot stay afraid because we must do something. And the perfect evidence that the fact that we are not staying silent is working. 5 years ago, I started this journey by myself. Today, I have hundreds of volunteers, thousands of members of my organization, and tens of thousands of followers. This is the evidence that we are growing from day to day.
Yeah, what was the trigger for you? When did you think, I have to speak up?
So that's exactly will answer the question of when I actually had this passion to talk about my country. And it has to go for Haifa. Haifa is the largest mixed city in Israel, which means I had Jewish friends, Christian friends, Muslim friends, and Druze friends. And my passion was to play football. And because we played football together, and because it was in Haifa, everyone played with each other. And we didn't care that this guy is a Jew and this guy is an Arab. We just wanted to play football. And this relationship became more and more, not just playing football, but we visited each other. And we, during Christmas, my Jewish friends and my Muslim friends and my Druze friends would visit me. When it was Passover, then the Muslims and the Druze, the Christians, would go and visit our Jewish friends. And that's how it was. And because of that, we felt equal. And because we felt equal, despite the challenges and the problems that we have in our society, but in that group, we did not feel that. And that's why I felt Israeli. And that's why when I arrived at the age of 18, I decided to volunteer and serve in the IDF.
In the IDF?
Yes.
And during your service in the IDF, you got wounded?
Yes.
What happened?
I was injured in Lebanon. And by the way, I decided to serve in the IDF because it's the IDF. It's the Israeli Defense Forces. It's not the JDF. It's not the Jewish Defense Forces.
It's also defending you.
Exactly. When the IDF defends, Israel defends all Israelis, Arabs and Jews. And when the terrorist organizations attack Israel, they kill Arabs and Jews. We unfortunately have evidence to that. When I was in Lebanon, 44 Israelis were killed by Hezbollah rockets. Half of them were Arab Muslims. And I was inside Lebanon fighting for my society, fighting for my country, fighting for my city, Nazareth, which rockets fell down there and killed babies and injured dozens from my city. And 4 days before a ceasefire, and I should say before I speak about my injury, that's my opportunity to say I lost 7 of my friends. I lost 3 of my commanders, and I lost 1 of my soldiers. But some of my friends that I lost because when we came to rescue them, they said, "Don't treat me, treat first my friend." That's the spirit of an IDF fighter. And I can assure you, despite the talks about the fact that Hezbollah maybe have won 1 battle or 2, we won every battle. There are bullets in the back of the terrorists because they run away. Don't let anybody fool you, or don't let anybody lie about it. The evidence to that since 2006 until today, Hezbollah is frightened by the IDF.
Yes.
And that's the situation.
That's
and as for me, 4 days before ceasefire, I was injured very badly when an anti-tank missile was shot and launched towards me. It hit a wall that was very close to me, and from that explosion, I had multiple injuries in my body, shrapnels all over my body. But the best doctors in Israel, Jews and Arabs, treated me, and within 1 year, I fully rehabilitated.
Wow, good for you. And you
Thank
are
you.
here now.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, if we look to the media in the Netherlands, we hear a lot about the difficult situation in Israel, nowadays also about the demonstrations in Israel going on.
Yes.
But also the difficult situation of the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
What is your view on that?
Well, first of all, what we're seeing in Israel today is pure democracy. Where in any other Arab country, for instance, if that would happen, probably we'd see death after death after death. Because
you talk about the demonstrations.
About the demonstrations, of course, yes. That shows that Israel is a democracy. And that shows that Israel allows the demonstrations like this. I always like to compare it and say, yes, unfortunately, if that would happen in any other Arab country, then they probably would end up, most of them in jail or dead. We can, by the way, although Iran is not an Arab country, but you can see exactly what happens to protesters there and to women's there. So that's the first one. As for the Palestinians, look, we need to understand that this conflict is not easy. It is complicated, and problems exist, okay? But when we actually focus on how to solve the problems and talk about the actual problems, not the lies of Israel being an apartheid state, because this is completely a lie. And when people use this and make it as if it's the reality, it doesn't help any side. If we come and speak about the problems that exist, also for the Palestinians and also for the Israelis, then we can solve the problems. But you know what upsets me more? That no one is talking about the problem within the Palestinian community in the West Bank and Gaza by their own leaders.
Which is?
Hamas is a terrorist organization that time after time oppressed their own people. I have people from Gaza contacting me, telling me, Yosef, during May 2021 with the clashes between Israel and Hamas, after the clashes, they forced us to go out and celebrate. I didn't want to celebrate. There's nothing to celebrate about. Gaza was destroyed. But they forced us, and if we didn't do that, they would have actually harmed us or jail us or whatever it is. And what about the Palestinian Authority? They are more corrupt than any other mafia organization. You know what? Just look at it this way. Look at the kids of Mahmoud Abbas, which is the president of the Palestinian Authority. His kids learning in the best schools, having the best cars. They're driving a Lamborghini. I'm not joking. They are driving a Lamborghini, while an average kid in Gaza in the West Bank doesn't even have a food on his table.
So you say this is the real problem for the
course,
Palestinians?
Of course, their leaders are the obstacle for moving forward, and we know that. We know that the obstacle was never Israel. Israel, time after time, reached their hands for peace. You know the sentence that Abba Evan used to say. He's a former UN ambassador, Israeli UN ambassador, and he said, unfortunately, the Palestinians never miss a chance to miss a chance.
Ja. Jonathan, als je hier zo naar luistert, wat komt er een beetje bij jou op?
Nou, ik ben het volledig eens met het verhaal van Yosef. Ik denk dat...
Nou, jij leest de Nederlandse media natuurlijk ook, wat er allemaal in het nieuws... Het is ook lastig om de balans van te vinden. Hè? Tenminste, mensen vragen zich dan af van ja, maar hoe kun je dan wel het juiste nieuws achterhalen? Als we hem kunnen geloven, dan klopt er helemaal niks van. Dat Israël een apartheidsstaat is, dat er bezetting is, et cetera, et cetera. Maar hoe kom je er dan achter wat het gebalanceerde verhaal is?
Dat het gebalanceerde verhaal is. En dat is waar organisaties zoals Stand With Us in beeld komen. Ja. Wij proberen via lezingen dus en op universiteiten, maar ook via social media campagnes, proberen wij het echte verhaal naar buiten te brengen. Ja. En het is heel lastig, want iets wat Jozef ook al zei, wij zijn met veel kleinere aantallen. Wat enorm ingewikkeld maakt om ons verhaal naar de buitenwereld te tonen. En ja,
dus het is een werk van lange adem eigenlijk.
Het is enorm lange adem, maar ik denk dat het ook cruciaal is om te doen, want waar hij ook absoluut gelijk in heeft, is dat wat we zien. En dat is wat onze organisaties met ons verhaal onderscheidt van de organisaties waar eigenlijk wij tegen strijden, zou je dat kunnen zeggen. Wij willen vrede.
Ja.
Wij willen een oplossing waarin, wij willen een wereld waarin Palestijnen en Israëliërs vredig naast elkaar kunnen leven. En de andere zijde, en dat is iets wat je ook ziet nu met Israël-Apartheidsweek, wil geen vrede.
Conflicten in stand eigenlijk.
Ze willen geen vrede. Ja. En ze willen eigenlijk de Joodse staat ontmantelen. En dat is erg ingewikkeld.
Ja.
En dat is wat ons dan onderscheidt. En het is jammer dat er zo weinig mensen zijn die geïnteresseerd zijn in het verhaal, of die het verhaal ook willen uitdragen. En dat is waar wij dus in beeld komen.
I have one more question for you before we go to a little break. You were recently in South Africa. What did you do there?
Basically, it was during Apartheid Week, and the whole idea is to debunk the lie of the apartheid. Because
just a bit of background, Apartheid Week is organized every year?
Every year in
South Africa.
universities. Actually, it's become more even global, but specifically I'm speaking about universities, whether in Pretoria, in Johannesburg, Cape Town, and the whole idea is to compare the South African apartheid to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I will never call it an apartheid because it's not an apartheid. And in fact,
but you went there also to this conference.
Of course. And I think I have the perfect sentence to conclude that. When I was there, I shared evidence, facts to everything I said. And after I shared that, I concluded it and said, please let me know if you agree with me, whether I'm right or wrong of what I'm about to say. And I said, now that you saw all the evidence, comparing the real apartheid that happened in South Africa to your parents and grandparents, to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, you're actually doing injustice
to your
own people. Not even one single head did not nod with acceptance. And that's how I think this journey was successful.
Yeah. We're gonna talk later more about this topic, of course. Jonathan, bedankt voor je komst naar de studio. Yoseph, also thank you. En we gaan naar ons volgende programma-onderdeel. Want het gebeurt niet elke dag dat wij hier zo'n gast hebben zoals Yoseph Haddad in de studio. Stel, je bent op de verjaardag van je beste vriend of vriendin en je bent gezellig aan het praten met elkaar en op een gegeven moment komt de discussie op Israël. Dan kan het zomaar gebeuren dat je een aantal stellingen of uitspraken naar je hoofd krijgt geslingerd waar je zo gauw geen antwoord op weet. Hoe reageer je daarop en wat zijn dan bijvoorbeeld goede antwoorden om te geven? Dat gaan we vragen aan Yoseph Haddad, die vanavond bij ons te gast is en die toevallig ook een expert is op dat thema. And we changed places so that you're in the center and I invite you to answer my statements that I'm going to give you.
It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, you get 2 minutes for each answer. So good luck for you.
All right, let's do it.
Here is my first statement.
Yes.
Israel is an apartheid state.
Clearly, anyone who says that Israel is an apartheid state has no clue what is the real definition of apartheid. Let's start from the beginning. Apartheid is an African word, which means, or basically a regime that was implemented in South Africa, which gave a segregation and separation between the majority of black people and the white people, to the white people. And the white people actually controlled the majority of black people with full separation. Different lines, bus system, health, education. All that does not exist in Israel. In fact, I as an Arab who live in Israel, I have equal rights like any Jew in Israel. Not only that, when I wake up in the morning and I take the bus, my bus driver can be an Arab or a Jew. In the bus, you would see Arabs and Jews. Health system is the best way to actually describe the partnership between Jews and Arabs. You can see an Arab doctor treating a Jewish patient. You can see a Jewish doctor treating an Arab patient. When I got injured as an Arab IDF soldier, commander, I was treated by Arabs and Jews in hospital of Nahriya. And yes, I said I'm an IDF commander. So as an Arab, I was a commander over Jewish soldiers and they had to obey my orders. Further than that, justice system. In apartheid South Africa, it was separated between black and white. In Israel, you have judges like Salim Jubran, an Arab Israeli, who actually was part of the team to send to prison a Jewish prime minister and a Jewish president. Those are facts. Go check them and you will see exactly what's going on. So, let me just to conclude. Saying that Israel is an apartheid state only promotes the agenda of the anti-Israelis and also what I call the anti-Palestinians, because they only want to promote their agenda and not to solve the problem. And it comes on the expense of the Arab Israelis, the Jewish Israelis, and the Palestinians. Stop with this lie.
Here is my second statement. Israel is violating international law.
Anyone who says that Israel is violating international law does not know anything about what's going on in Israel, and therefore I invite you to come and see by yourself. But let me give you the best evidence to that. During the clashes on May 2021 between the IDF and Hamas, the terrorist organization, the same terrorist organization that launched more than 4,300 rockets into a civilian area, killing Arabs and Jews in Israel, by the way. Yes, that's, by the way, a violation of international law. The same terrorist organization that kills every time innocent Israelis, Arabs and Jews. Yet the IDF, when we retaliate, when we attack to defend ourselves, the same IDF that defends, again, Arabs and Jews, when we do that, the first thing above and everything is to keep the international law above everything and human rights. Here's what happens. If there's an actual building that there are inside of it are terror activities, what we do, because there are humans, innocent human people there, what we do is actually call those people and tell them evacuate that building. Evacuate that building, so we are about to strike it and we don't want to harm you. Which army does that? Further than that, anyone who understands a little bit about fight, about war, will tell you this is the way that you will lose advantage. Yet Israel does not care. Do you know why? Because we care more about human rights. We care more about the international laws. So, the final statement to that, come to Israel, you'll see it for yourself.
Here's my third statement. Israel is taking away land from the Palestinians.
Here's yet another lie. Israel is taking lands from the Palestinians. Let's break down to a couple of answers. Let's talk about the Arab Israelis, okay? The Arab Israelis today, we have the right as equal citizens to appeal to the court. And if we think and know that Israel taking our land, we appeal to the court, and the court, if it finds the right evidence, will give us either the land back or compensation. Do you know how do I know that actually? Because just recently, 1 billion shekel was given to Arab Israelis because of that issue. That's one. Second, let's talk about Gaza. Israel does not control even 1 inch of Gaza. We gave all of it back in 2004. So stop with the lie. And when it comes to the West Bank, of course, it is more complicated, yes. And I do believe that eventually, when we in the future, we must arrive to a solution to end that conflict. But not only Arab Israelis can appeal to the Supreme Court justice in Israel, but also Palestinians. And it happens. And multiple times, the Israeli Supreme Court justice actually was in the favor of the Palestinians because the facts and the evidence were with them. Once again, if you just look at the evidence and if you just look at the full picture, you will understand that those lies will only harm us, not to help us. So again and again I would say, please stop harming us. Stop with the lies.
Here is my next statement. Palestinian Christians suffer a lot because of Israel.
Unbelievable. If I didn't think that this is a serious topic, I would think that this is a joke. The Christians, whether they are in the West Bank or in Gaza, and specifically in Israel, we are the safest in the Middle East because of the state of Israel. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't extremists that attack Christians. But those extremists are minority extremists, and actually Israel persecute them. Now, as for the Palestinians, you know what? I'm not surprised that they stated like this. You know, they live among a terrorist organization in Gaza. They live among a corrupted Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. What do you expect them to say? In Gaza, the Christian numbers, or the population, decreased from year to a year to a year. Now barely there are 100 people there because they live under the terrorist organization. Same thing in the West Bank. But do you know where the Christians feel the safest? In Israel. And do you know where we actually increase in the population? In Israel. You know, I, as an Arab Christian who live in Israel, I know one thing for sure, that if I live in the Middle East, the only place I will pick as a Christian to live in the Middle East is the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel.
Here is the next statement. Boycotting Israel is helping the Palestinians.
Boycotting Israel is helping the Palestinians. Here's the story. A few years ago, the UN actually did something called the blacklist of factories behind the Green Line. The first people who got affected by it and harmed by it were the Palestinians. Now there's an industry called Barkan in the West Bank. Immediately after the UN published the blacklist, which means this is the list of the factories that you need to boycott, I went actually to there. And when I went to there, I met Palestinians on the ground. And I told them, have you heard the news? And said, what are you talking about? Oh, well, your factory, the one that you're working right now, probably soon will be shut down or bankrupt because they're boycotting it. Do you know what the first thing they did? I'll give you a demonstration. They start hitting themselves because this was the only place where they actually bring food to the table to their families. And then they told me this, those UN representatives, if they would actually come to here and they would speak to us, they would have never taken that decision. So anyone who thinks that boycotting Israel is helping the Palestinian, not only he's wrong, but actually doing the exact opposite. That's it. Don't boycott. Work for actually to solve the problem, not to maintain it.
We go to our last statement, and actually it's a statement that you still have to fill in a little bit. And the statement is, for me, Israel is.
For me, Israel is. First and above all, home. But you know what? Let's put everything on the table. Israel is not perfect. Racism exists. Discrimination exists. Yes, I'm saying it. But you want to tell me, in your country, racism does not exist? Discrimination does not exist? Unfortunately, it's everywhere. The only way we can actually do something about it is not fighting with each other, but working together in partnership. And that's what I am fighting for. I'm fighting to bridge gaps between Jews and Arabs in Israel. I'm fighting to make sure that the Arab-Israeli society become an integral part of the Israeli society. We're actually succeeding in many aspects. You know, we are 20% of the population, yet we are 30% of the doctors in Israel, 50% of the pharmacists. We have successful figures in Israel from the Arab society. Samir Hajjahia, leading the largest bank in Israel, yes, in the Jewish state. Salim Jubran, Khalid Kaboub, Supreme Court judges. We have lawyers, businessmen, journalists. I'm one of them. Commanders in the IDF. So yes, Israel is not perfect. But Israel is the only real democracy in the Middle East. And Israel is my home. And I will fight for my home.
Thank you for answering all those statements, Yoseph.
Thank you.
I can imagine that speaking out for Israel sometimes also can be hard and exhausting and difficult. Is it?
Hard and difficult, of course, exhausting not. I don't think it's exhausting. It's something that I do from the bottom of my heart. And I really believe in it because I want to fight for the truth. I want to fight to change people's minds, especially the ones who are brainwashed. I can tell you that we're outnumbered. We're outnumbered. There are far more anti-Israelis than pro-Israelis.
You don't ever get tired of that?
Because why? Or not even why. I don't have any other option. I don't have any other option. If I want to see this conflict comes to an end, and if I want to see my society thriving, succeeding, I must continue. We must continue, because I'm not by myself. I have many other Arab Israelis with me, joining me. We have to continue because we need to change the future. For 75 years we went in one direction and we saw where we're going. Now it's the time for us to change, but this is actually my opportunity to tell you what I need from you and what I need from anyone who's listening to us right now. You know, we are working hard inside Israel, working hard outside of Israel, getting more and more bigger. And the reason is because we get this support. And that's the thing. When you hear voices like mine, when you hear voices like us, one, support that voice. Second, don't be skeptical. And third, be patient. This is a long process.
It is.
It's not going to be done by 1 year, 2 year, or 3 years. So support, don't be skeptical, and be patient. If you do those three things, we might stand a chance.
My final question for you, because I can imagine that people are watching this YouTube video and that they might be asking themselves the question, what can I do to stand up for Israel? What would you advise them?
Absolutely everything. Whatever you can do. You know what? Sometimes it could be one comment that could change someone's opinion. I'll give you the best example. During the clashes in May 2021, one of my volunteers, he has 7 followers on Facebook. That's it. He saw a post from Al Jazeera, which was completely lie. And he decided at the right time, the exact time that the post was published, and he posted the right answer. That answer got more likes and shares than the post of Al Jazeera itself. And it opened after that a dialogue, literally a dialogue between other Arabs from the Arab world. Now the majority of it, of course, it was anti. But I could actually see there some other comments saying, wait, maybe he's right.
Maybe he has a point.
Maybe he has a point. And he managed to change people's mind. Don't forget, you change one people's mind, it creates a chain. This chain is the success to actually do something in our favor.
To change the world.
To change the world.
Yoseph, thank you very much for coming to our studio.
Pleasure.
En dank u ook voor het kijken naar deze speciale livestream. En deze livestream die werd mede mogelijk gemaakt dankzij een samenwerking tussen Christenen voor Israël en Stand With Us Nederland. Een organisatie die in Nederland met name onder jongeren en studenten onderwijs geeft over Israël. En dat doet op universiteiten, op scholen en op allerlei plekken in heel Nederland. Meer informatie over deze organisatie kunt u vinden op www.standwithus.nl. Nogmaals heel erg bedankt voor het kijken en graag tot de volgende keer.